everybody, welcome back. Today I'm here to tell you about Frankly in Love by David Yoon. And he is a Korean-American writer. This is his debut novel. It was published in 2019. It's a young adult romantic comedy, but that's really out of my usual wheelhouse, I guess. It's not my usual pick off the bookshelf, but a friend of mine really recommended this as a fun book to read after I'd read a bunch of darker stuff. So even that cover, all yellow, seemed pretty happy, so I picked it up. And I was pleasantly surprised. It was a fun, happy read. It was less about the romance, which was a pretty typical tropey romance, but I found it to be more about race or racism and acceptance and identity, family, things like that, which was much more interesting to read than just a straight up romance, I think. The really interesting thing about this book, though, was that it was a romantic comedy told through the perspective of a male protagonist, a young teenage boy who was, figuring out the whole romance situation, his sort of first love situation. And his name is Frank Lee, so Frankly in Love. So let me read you a little bit. This is not quite the first page, but almost. And I really loved, something I really loved about this book was the protagonist's voice. He had a really quirky, sweet, nerdy kind of voice, and I like that worked through the whole book. So here you go with his quirky, nerdy self. It was a lot of fun. Senior year is begun. Is begun sounds cooler than the more normal has begun. Because if you say it right, you sound like a lone surviving knight, delivering dire news to a weary king on the brink of defeat, his limp hand raking his face with dread. The final breach is begun, your grace. The downfall of House Lee is begun. I'm the king in that scenario, by the way, raking my face with dread, for senior year is begun. Sometimes I look way back to 6 months ago during the halcyon days of junior year, how we pranced in the meadows after taking the PSAT, the practice run of the SAT, which in Playa Mesa and California in the United States of America is widely used to gauge whether an early human is fit for entrance into an institution of higher learning. But the PSAT, a mere trial, we juniors sang. What counts not for shit, your grace. How we lazed in the sunlight, sharing jokes about that one reading comprehension passage about the experiment testing whether dogs found it easier to tip a bin for food or pull a rope. Based on the passage and the results in Figure 4, were the dogs A, more likely to solve the rope task than the bin task, B, more frustrated by the rope task than the bin task, C, more likely to resent their human caregivers for being presented with such absurd tasks to begin with. I mean, just give us the food and a damn dog bowl like normal people. Or D, more likely to rake a paw over their face with dread. The answer was D. For come score day, I discovered I got a total of 1,400 points out of a possible 1,520, the 96th percentile. This earned me plenty of robust, spontaneous high fives from my friends, but to me they sounded like palms slapping the sealed door of a crypt. The target was 1,500. When I told Mom and Dad, they stared at me with pity and disbelief, like I was a little dead sparrow in the park, And Mom actually said this, for real. Don't worry, we still love you. So you see, it's about a whole lot more than just romance. It's about figuring out how you make your parents happy, how you fit in. And since the protagonist is a Korean American, he's also struggling with not fitting in with American life, and his parents are immigrants, and how does his being American fit with their version of staying Korean, and his dating life just complicates things. And I really don't want to say more than that because I think I'll give it all away if I talk too much. But it was sweet, it was quirky, it was endearing. I needed tissues at one point, so it was a lot of fun. If you need a light read, pick it up. I enjoyed it. So see you next week. In the meantime, please like, share, subscribe. Buy the book below. If you buy from my link, I get a tiny little %, which is appreciated. And leave me a comment. Suggest a book. Tell me if you read this book. What did you think? I know it's got mixed reviews. Some people love it. Some people think it's just okay. I just found it to be a really fun, light read.